the lineup that I have is just so solid, and I think the key thing is that I've found people who care about it as much as what I do, and that's really hard. The funny thing is about Motley Crude is we've never actually rehearsed, so what we tend to do is like we'll basically have a rehearsal will be during sound check, which is kind of weird, isn't it? Because we live so far away from each other, like we don't really live near each other, and it's hours and hours and hours. I mean, we've got a show next week and it's got maybe 20 tickets left, and that's going to be our 6th sellout in a row. If you've got anyone in the team that's a weakness, they turn into an anchor very quickly. If you've got 3 guys that are willing to invest, I mean, we've spent upwards of £30,000-40,000, you know, to make the show what it is.
Welcome back to Tribute Band Sessions, where we get to interview some amazing people in the tribute band world, and you get to learn a lot. Today's guest, we're going to hop across the pond to the UK. That's correct, the United Kingdom. And we're going to talk to one of the biggest tribute bands celebrating the catalog of who else? Mötley Crüe. This band is called Mötley Crude, and we have Shawn today. He's going to talk to us about everything about the band and how they're selling out venues. They're about to embark on a big tour. I can't wait to ask him a million questions. But before we get into it, you know what you guys need to do. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, and comment. We're open to any kind of comments. You want us to interview a guest? Tell us who you want to interview, and we'll get right on that. Anyway, why do I keep talking here with this intro? Let's get right to talking to Shawn. Shawn, where are you? I know you're here. Shawn, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Great to be here, Mike.
Yeah, so let's take it back. Let's roll it back on your career and start at the beginning of your musical upbringing. You know, obviously, tell us what you do in the band and what you portray, and then roll it back and tell us a little bit about your start.
Yeah, sounds cool. So I play Nicky Six, if the hair didn't give it away.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so I play the part of Nicky Six in the band, obviously playing bass. And yeah, my upbringing with music, I mean, my mother and father were heavily into music as a kid, but not so much the music I play now. They were into like Motown and Northern Soul, that sort of stuff. So it was a very musical household. And I was kind of on track to potentially become a football player, or soccer as you call it over there. I was doing quite well. I was in some pretty good academies. I was doing really well. But then my childhood best friend at the time, a guy called Lewis, his dad made us both watch the Purple Rain movie by Prince.
Right.
And it's so weird. I mean, I've said this story to so many journalists. I mean, I've never had a more defining moment in my life. I mean, I watched that film, and, you know, you can picture this kid with short hair, you know, really into football and sports. And by the end of the movie, everything about me had changed. I thought, I do not want to play sports anymore. I have to become a musician, and that's it. I will not stop until I achieve it. So I went home that night and I said to my mum and dad, I want a drum kit, I want a guitar, I want a bass, I want a keyboard. I want to be just like this guy, because I thought he is the coolest guy in that movie.
Yeah.
He's the coolest guy ever.
He's awesome. Yeah.
And that's when I was a kid. And literally ever since I was like, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, and now I'm 36, so it's just never let up for a second.
I'm telling you, man, that sounds like my path. I grew up wanting to be a baseball player, went to baseball camp, and then my dad brought home a customer couldn't pay him for the job he did. So he's like, well, I got to get paid something. He gave him a snare drum. He goes, what am I going to do with this? He goes, I'll just give it to my littlest one. He ain't going to do shit with it. No. So next thing you know, boom, you know, the drums were my passion, and just it's awesome. And that's a great thing to have, because that means you really feel the music and stuff like that. And Prince, oh my God, Prince is crazy. We just had St. Paul on the show, who was drafted to be in Prince's band at 17. That's a whole nother episode and crazy story. But like growing up before the whole Mötley Crüe thing, what were some of your musical influences?
So after I it's weird, 'cause like with the Prince thing, it wasn't that I was so obsessed with his music, it was just him. It was...
It's him, yeah.
It was him.
Get it.
The fact is, this small guy that could walk into any room with anyone and people would turn around and go, wow, Prince has just walked in the room, and he wouldn't have to say a word. It was so understated, and I thought, I love that, because he's a bit of an enigma, I thought, I just love everything about it. So it wasn't like I just got into Prince's back catalogue, but I fell in love with the Purple Rain album. Obviously, I got that immediately and love that to death. But yeah, I started out really, it was Bon Jovi was one of the first bands, like the real sort of 80s rock bands that I discovered in high school and got into. My uncle was a big Meatloaf fan. He had loads of Meatloaf albums, so when I was a kid I'd hear, Paradise by the Dashboard Lights playing in the background. It was just always there, this sort of these bands that I didn't really know what they were, but when I was a kid I always remember them growing up. And
it's great stuff, like that Bat Out of Hell record, man, that's a masterpiece. It's killer.
Jim Steinman is one of my heroes.
Yeah. So I mean, you grew up with some really, really good wide variety of stuff, and then you could just go hang out with your parents now and you get the Motown influence.
That's it. It could be from them.
And there's nothing wrong with that, man. I mean,
no, absolutely not.
They always say it's like good to be like really, really diverse in the music, because you could just jump in anywhere. But from that point of time to fast forwarding, how did Motley Crüe come together? Because how did you go, Motley Crüe is what we want to do, and how did it come together? Was it you that started a band? Other people?
Yeah, so there was me and our previous drummer who started it back in 2015, and it came from, and I mean this with the utmost respect to musicians around that have done Motley Crüe before. Motley Crüe is a band that is incredibly hard to replicate, because no one sounded like them. There's not all these AOR bands and glam, and there's loads of them. You could swap and change, and you don't really know who it is. It kind of like sounds like this, but with Motley, undeniably distinctive, everything about them. And the bands at the time before 2015 that were doing it, there was a couple knocking around. They just, they were doing the best that they could do, but it just didn't sound like Motley Crüe. It was like a cover band, which is great, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with that at all. And we had this idea of putting together a Motley Crüe tribute that would be as close as what you could get to seeing them in the 1980s, because obviously I know they get so much stick nowadays and people say bad things, but for me they can't do any wrong, because they've earned the right to do whatever they want. All those guys, whether it's Axl Rose,
Yeah, I was going to say, like, everybody gets shit for everything as soon as you become a star. I was just reading some of the comments about Rush getting together and hiring a new drummer, and they're like, how can you do that? You're breaking the mold. It's like, what? It doesn't make sense to probably both of us, but that's the world out there that we live in. Everybody's got to find some shit to pick on.
Of course.
And Motley Crüe definitely has that target on
there,
them,
isn't it? It is so apart from Mick, every one of them gets so much shit. It's great.
Oh, man.
But they love it. That's what they're about, isn't it? It's a controversy. There's no such thing as bad press for them, so I think they love it. No. To be honest, I think they love every second of it.
It feeds the animal, or whatever you want to say, But they're just to the point right now. They don't. Why would they care? You know what I mean? They're having fun doing what they want to do, and I love it. But the band bringing it together. So you wanted to start, you saw other stuff that was going on, and it was just okay. It wasn't at the level that maybe in your head you go, man, I could produce this to be concert level and really a show. And then when you're doing that, it's like, all right, well, I can't do it by myself. So how do you go and find these other people?
Yeah, luckily in the UK, the tribute scene is like really thriving. So there's lots of guys that are open to doing it and stuff like that. But to slightly take a little step backwards, the main catalyst that sort of inspired, I know individually me, was that I went to see them with Alice Cooper in Manchester on the final tour in 2015. And this is before we'd really started doing anything with the band. We'd sort of put the ideas together, and I thought, if I'm gonna be in this band that I can see myself doing for decades, I need to go and see them live. And I'd never seen them live before then. So I went to see them. Long story short, me and my brother bought these horrendous tickets, the last ones we could get. We were at the very back of the arena on the lowest level seat. So we're probably about 3 foot from the floor. It was just the worst.
Right.
And we were by this fire exit and there was no one else near us. And we thought, this is just the worst. So we watched the band and it was on this little, basically like little stick men on a screen. And we're like,
yeah.
But we were there, we thought, you know what, we're here. We're going to enjoy it. And on that tour, when they played Home Sweet Home, they had a big stage in the middle of the arena that would rise up. And after they played, like towards the end of the show, the whole arena went into darkness. And Tommy Lee just kicked this big fire exit next to us and came walking up this little alleyway, and they put like a velvet rope to separate people from them that were in the standing area. And I said to brother, they're going to walk like literally within like a couple of feet away from us. And they did. Tommy came over and high-fived us both. But no one else was anywhere. It's hard to explain, but no one was anywhere near where we were.
That's awesome.
Honestly, it's like a freak thing. Like, you couldn't make it up. It was insane.
Sure.
So Tommy came over, Vince came over, Nicky didn't, but Mick was being assisted by some help as what he can have. It's Mick, isn't it? That's fine. They did the song Home Sweet Home. They came down and I said to my brother again, they're going to have to come back this way because that's the exit. So again, Tommy came over, high-fived us. Vince did, and then Nicky, which was like the moment that sort of like set everything up for me, is he came over to me and my brother and he put the plectrum that he used in my brother's hand as he was walking past, and he sort of caught a glimpse of me and he sort of stopped and turned to look, and we both had the same, the military hat that he has, and he was wearing that, and he looked at me and I had a replica of it on, and he looked at me and he took it out of my brother's hand and he said, I think this is going to mean more to you, and put it in my hand. And I was like,
wow. I just got chills from that story. Yeah, and that's awesome.
And I have that plectrum next to me in a frame with my favourite Motley single on vinyl. And I got it and I was like, now we've started. This is the birth right now.
Yeah, man.
And that was it. So it was, it was great.
They say it's meant to be sometimes, right? You know what I mean?
That's it. And if people, if you could sell those tickets saying you'll have an awful time, you won't see the show, but you'll get to very briefly, albeit, meet the band. We were getting daggers from the people sat on the next tiers up. They were looking at us like, you lucky son of a bitch. Like, you had no idea how cool that is. So it was worth it. So that was like the beginning of the band, and that's what sort of inspired me to, like, I've all this is lined up, and it's like divine intervention, it felt, and I thought, this is
absolutely. Yeah. And so picking the band members, did you go through like an audition process? Did you know people in the scene? Because, it's definitely tricky. I mean, getting in Tommy Lee, that band is they have just I'm going to call them characters or whatever you want to call them, but they're just so, unique you can't just pick anybody off the street if you want to portray it as close as possible. You know what I mean?
Couldn't agree
your
more.
band, is awesome. So how did you pick the players?
Well, the players, as we're calling them, they aren't the ones that were in it originally. So I've been through a few different lineups over the last 11 years.
As all bands.
Absolutely, it's never the same, is it? And again, absolutely no disrespect to any of the previous guys, because I'll always love them all because they've taken part in the sort of legacy of this band and got us where we are. But it was more of a case of, like, at the very beginning we didn't really know what we were doing so much, and we were just sort of figuring it out. And over the years, people would come and go and leave, and we had a guy who was Leanne Rimes, his guitar player, came over from Nashville to join. I thought, why do you want to be in a Motley Crue tribute band? It was so weird. And so all these wacky guys came, but the lineup that we have now. Tom, who's Tommy Lee's been in the band for about 18 months now, and he's great. Obviously, he plays the part well. And Stevie, who's Vince, he's been in the band for about 3 years. And Pete, who's Mick Mars. He couldn't find a more Mick Mars guy if you tried. He's this older dude, early 50s. We just bully him relentlessly, and he's just, and he's great. He's just such a guy. And so he just went through a few different lineup changes, and now the lineup that I have is just so solid. And I think the key thing is that I've found people who care about it as much as what I do, and that's really hard, because there's a lot of bands where they have like one or two guys that run it, and then the other guys kind of do it for the money or because they get to play gigs, but the 4 guys I have in this band are absolutely obsessed with Motley Crue in every which way you can imagine. So it makes my life running the band so much more fulfilling and easy, because it's like, hey guys, let's do this. What do you think of that? And everyone's like, yeah, we're all in. Let's do it, man. It's great. And it's brilliant.
That's the way it should be. I mean, you have to live and breathe what you're doing in order to make it authentic for your crowd or your, fans or whatever you want to call them. But I hear that throughout these interviews. Everybody has the same story. They start out, and then members change, and then boom, they lock into something special, which from there, they're just, on the way up, and they just keep going and don't look back. Stuff happens along the way. You can't help it. But, when you get that magic that happens, it's like anybody, you definitely got a good something that the crowd goes, man, I'm going to come back and see these guys all the time, which is how you build that momentum. When it comes to like the rehearsals, because you mentioned earlier how hard and difficult this stuff is to play, which, a lot of people don't realize, if you really listen to the records and stuff like that, like Tommy Lee has some really significant parts in those records, just speaking of one musician in the band.
Yeah.
But how long did it take you to, and even, let's fast forward to even a new crew that you have, no pun intended there. But
very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. To rehearse because obviously you have to train them and rehearse the stuff. To get it to the point where it is right now, where you could go play out?
Well, Tom, his name's actually Tom, funnily enough. His name's Thomas.
Okay.
And so that kind of worked out really well, for him. But,
right, that's easy.
Yeah, so Tom, he was actually our stand-in drummer for quite a number of years when our full-time drummer wasn't available. So he'd been sort of playing with us on and off for about 3 years, give or take. So he knew where he sort of like sat in the band. And when I asked him to join full time, it was then that we really ramped up the authenticity of everything. Like you said with Tommy Lee, I think people overlook how good he was, because obviously lifestyle and celebrity status, but there's a reason why every like drumming magazine that lists the best drummers ever from the rock and metal, he's always in there, and there's a reason for that, because he defined that genre in so many different ways. So with Tom, he's obsessed with Tommy Lee. He's his favourite drummer. He has loads of memorabilia. He's a huge fan. So with Tom, it was just working with him, and like everyone is just trying to make it sound, because I get a bit obsessed. I've been accused of being a little bit obsessed. The Steel Dragon movie, Rockstar, with Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I've kind of like, I've been likened to him a few times, where it's like, you're not nailing the pinch harmonic, man. It's like,
right, yeah.
It sounds like the record. I'm like, it doesn't, So
it's so funny.
Yeah, it is, and that's kind of like me. And they've just finding the guys that care about it. That's the main thing, and those guys just do, and they
just come in and learn the parts and know everything, and it makes it easy, right?
Yeah. We need a few tweaks every now and again, and we go through stuff and try make everything sound as close as we can get it. But the funny thing is about Motley Crude is we've never actually rehearsed. I think the last time we rehearsed was 2017, I think. So what we tend to do is like we'll basically have a rehearsal will be during sound check, which is kind of weird, isn't it? Because we live so far away from each other, like we don't really live near each other, and it's hours and hours and hours
I
away.
didn't realize that. Okay, gotcha. So you do your sound check, and you might rehearse a new song if you're putting in a set or something like that, right?
Precisely, yeah. So we because I sort of work as like the musical director of the thing, so I will write a show out for us, and then everyone will learn it at home, and then when we come together, it's a case of just if you've done your homework, it should be easy, and because those guys are so dedicated, they just do. It just falls into place. Couple of tweaks, and then boom, we're away, and we perform 2-hour shows now with no stops in between.
That's amazing. Are most of your shows over there? Because here in the States, here it varies. It can be 2 sets with a break in a theater, because we have a bunch of theaters here, to say 60-minute, 45-minute sets or whatever, or one long set that's 90 minutes. Some of the big bands like the Australian Pink Floyd, or maybe the Grateful Dead, or one of those big bands, they're doing 3-hour sets, something crazy. But with that said, is most of the shows over there like a straight 2 hours?
Not really. I mean, a lot of the time over here, you'll have like a a Metallica tribute, and they'll have maybe 1 or 2 support bands, and then they'll do maybe 90 minutes. And we've done that for many years, have support bands and stuff. But the last year was our 10-year anniversary, and the Decade of Decadence. Again, pardon the pun with that. And we said, we've been doing 3-4 band lineups for years, and I thought I want to try it on our own, because I think we've got enough of a fan base to make it successful by ourselves, and we did. And last year was our best selling year ever on our own.
Amazing. And that's so cool.
And this year, I mean, we've got a show next week, and it's got maybe 20 tickets left, and that's going to be our 6th sellout in a row since we got back from Australia.
I saw online, I was like, holy crap, you did an ad or something where it just showed the listing of your dates, but the sellouts. And to me, that's just amazing. It shows that you're doing something right. And like I said, once you get that momentum going and you cross like a certain line, there's no stopping. You're going to start to tour really internationally, come over to the States here more, because there's a huge market for you guys to do well over here. Yeah. And eventually you'll probably find, if you don't already have it, as an agent that wants to take you over here and start really booking you, which I think you'll do well.
Yeah, well, I've had about 5 or 6 inquiries to come over to like New York and Detroit, Michigan, and things like that. So I'm in the beginnings of trying to put together a bit of a US tour for next year, because this year's our first time ever going outside of England, and I know it's kind of gone wild because we've just done Australia, we got back a few weeks ago, we've got America, right. We've got Germany, we've got France, we've got Cyprus. Next year we've got Greece and America, so it's exploded. And a lot of that is, I think, down to the guys that have come on board now, and in the last 18 months we've had nearly 5 million streams online.
Wow, that's incredible
for a tribute band.
It's crazy, Yeah. I mean, to reach that level of streams, or even like a fan base of millions, it's just, it says what you're doing. There's something out there. You take the good with the bad. You're always going to get people to go, oh, those guys, whatever. Oh, yeah. But who cares? We all get that. I get that. You get that. But at the end of the day, your work speaks for itself. The fact that you're playing places and stuff like that. To me, coming over to the States, I want to talk about this for a second. Coming over to the States, playing the Whiskey in LA, it's amazing. It's just such a unique place for you guys to be at, considering all the bands that went through there. You guys have to be excited about playing there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've personally in my life, I've played in, I think it's like 27 countries in my career, and I've done quite a lot of really cool stuff from like Japan, Australia, I've done America, all over Europe, India, South America. But and that stuff's been incredible. But the Whiskey, I think, is going to be the defining moment in my career, I believe, because that
I think it's going to be good. You're going to have to do that legendary shot in front of it on the marquee.
Oh my God!
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That'll be the new promo for you guys.
Mate, I'm already on the hunt for a content creator in Los Angeles because I want to film everything. So it's going to be.
Oh, that's going to be amazing. Well, you'll send us some stuff. We'll definitely repost it. But was there particularly like one show that comes to mind where you go, okay, now this is lightning in a bottle. We got something, because I know you said you started out, went through some different members and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But was there a show that speaks to you that you go, man, this is it?
Yeah, definitely. So in England, we have a venue called the Underworld in Camden, London, which is, you might have heard of it, I don't know, but it's like hugely iconic in England, and so many, kind of like the Whiskey in a way, it's been going for a long time. Lots of bands have come through it, and loads of like huge original bands have played. And a couple of years ago, we were the first ever tribute band in history to sell it out on pre-sales. And across the road in a bigger venue was Justin Hawkins' The Darkness, and they were playing, and we still sold out, and that's 450 people that we sold it out to. And only 6 months prior to us selling it out, Motley Crue did a secret show there called the Dogs of War, and it's when they were playing
at that place.
Yeah, so they did this secret show that sold out within minutes because they had this thing called,
I remember that. I remember seeing it online.
Yeah. So that when they did that, we were booked into play 6 months later, and we just did promo to hell, and then we got up there, and then we were the first band ever to sell it out. And there's been thousands and thousands of bands that have played, and no one had up to that point. So for me, I was just stood there and I thought, we've got something here that, you know, got the right catalyst, got the right chemistry. If this is handled and managed in the right way, this has got the potential to do well, and I mean really well, because I've found now, and it sounds kind of odd, but I've had quite a lot of success in the original music industry. So I know how you get treated as an original artist, and then it's very different, a tribute artist, you know, you don't really get treated the same. But with Motley Crude, that line that was once so definitive has become so hazy to me now, where we have legions of people that travel from all over Europe, all over England to come and watch us, and they just absolutely love it. I mean, we have T-shirts that I'm wearing now.
Yeah.
We have leather jackets, and people spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds to come and see us. And you're talking like people come to 20 shows a year, and that the money they invest, hotels, travel, and they love it. It's a
lot of money.
Yeah.
It's no joke. You know what I mean? So let's switch gears a little bit. So we're talking a little bit about business, merchandising, and people traveling and spending money. Are you the one there's always one in the band? Are you the one in the band that handles all the business?
Yeah, it's very much a collective thing, and each person in the band brings something unique to the table.
Okay.
But I'm the person who oversees everything and sort of manages
everything. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I would think that, you know, somebody might help with the marketing and, you know, maybe the advancing of the shows and stuff like that. But the general, like, say, manager of the band and stuff like that. And I wanted to ask whether you guys have management that manages the band.
This guy.
That's you. Yeah.
That's
so that's
me,
a lot of hats you have to wear. It's a tough gig. We always talk about this, and I talk about this in a lot of my videos, is that the word business is something where I think, and we'll get into talking about the tribute band and, you know, what makes them fail or, you know, succeed. But it's knowing how to run a business at the end of the day and how to run it smart, you know?
Yeah.
So you're wearing that hat, you know, so your approach to it is making sure the band is out there, getting noticed and stuff like that, making all your social media and marketing is working. And then the gigs, because you play all over the place. And so you have to kind of like arrange it, I'm sure, in a way that, you know, from a tour makes sense, you know, and that's a lot of work.
Yeah, people that aren't involved in the industry, certainly to the level that we're currently operating at, I don't think they understand the work. I mean, for me, it's my full-time job. This is what I do full-time, running the band. So, yeah, from everything from booking the tours, the social media, there's so much that goes into it. It's, yeah, I mean, you do it because you love it, but at the same time, like you've said, it's very much a business, and you have to, if you want it to be successful in terms of a business setting, you have to view it as that. And we never used to do that, but the past couple of years, it's very much become a business, and now it's operating at full capacity now, so.
Yeah, I think like you have to view it as a business. You still have to have fun because it's music, and music is fun. You know what I mean? And what you guys are doing is really fun. But, you know, you do have an aspect of like, I want to keep growing. I want to be on tour. I don't want to stop. And so there's that business that kicks in and goes, all right, how can we get to the next level? How can we do a whole U.S. tour? You know, is it time for us to upgrade and get a manager and relieve some of that from me? Yeah, I might lose a little bit of a percentage of what we're making, but is that going to accelerate the band? There's all these things that you kind of got to think about as the tribute band grows, and you guys are definitely growing. So has there been any thought to entertain some management into the world yet, or are you not at that point?
I think we haven't had a single person in the 11 years ever approach us to say, I'd like to manage, or would you consider? They never have. It's always been, you know, it's always been the way it has. So if someone was to approach me and say, I've seen what you've done and I can take it to somewhere that you possibly can't, I'd absolutely be interested in that. There isn't any limitations I place on the band to get us to keep going up and up that ladder. So yeah, I would definitely be open to it. I think where we've got to so far, I mean, it's just been nothing but, over a decade of just sheer determination and hard work. And so yeah, if someone was to come along, I would definitely be interested in that. But at the same time, I'm a bit of a control freak, so
I get it. I get what you're saying. Like, it's tough to give away a little bit of that control. You know what I mean? And there is a little bit something to be said about you will give away a little bit of that control. You being in, like, say, the original scene and experience what that is like, and then this is like, you know that as soon as you touch with the management, it's going to change. Hopefully it doesn't change too much, but, and some have changed for the better, where it has escalated a career and they were able to keep hold of what they were doing. But it does sometimes move quicker, and you're like, oh, wait a second, come back. I was controlling everything,
Yeah, I've just always had a very, very, very clear vision of what I wanted to do with this from the beginning. And so now I've got the right guys, the sky's the limit. So I think I've still got a lot more legs to grow this further and further. But there's always going to be people out there that can do a better job than what I can. So it's just never happened. It's never.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're still, in my opinion, you're still at the beginning of your career. No, you're not beginning, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you still have such a long way to go from the standpoint of, like, how many dates do you do a year?
Between 60 and 70.
Yeah, so there's bands that I've talked to that are doing like 150 to 210, and it's a tour, you know what I mean? And that's what I mean, the growth that you have and you're willing to do. Some bands don't want to do that. In fact, some of the bands that are doing over 200 are cutting back because they've done 200 for 10 years, So now they have a family, they're older, and they want to cut back on it. And they can, because they're super successful. But I think in the point of your career, you have such a long way to go, and the band is great. So, you talked about marketing for a second. I'm always curious, because I talked to so many bands that use marketing for the bands, and there's so many ways to market a band. Is there any one platform that works super well for you guys? Because you have so many to choose from now. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah, we've found that our biggest hit rates are on Facebook, definitely. That's where we get the best engagement. And TikTok has done really well. And we had that since July last year. So, and that's had sort of like 700,000 hits on the content. And there's not that much on there. So that's done really well. But because with like the social media thing, I know a lot more young people use it. And because of the movie that came out, it spawned a whole new fan base for Motley Crue. And
absolutely,
it did so much for us. I mean, when that movie came out, it was the phone just didn't stop ringing, So it's created a wider fan base. So we do have to engage with the social media stuff to a much more younger people, like reels, really strong content, which I do a lot of, and short videos and things like that. So there's a bit of a mix for everyone. But I think our Facebook account is definitely our strongest. And we've gone from last year, we're at like 11,000 followers. And then I think we're about 40 off 25,000 in about a year. So it's it's on its way to trebling, sort of thing. So yeah, so it's just definitely Facebook, I'd say, for us.
No, I mean, you got to do it all, and you doing everything in the business for the band. You got to figure out, all right, what's working, what's not working, where do I want to put some money, advertising, and all that good stuff. So one thing I wanted to touch on, which is like that giant Motley Crue elephant in the room, is tracks. Using tracks. This is something where, we just tracks. I know. I see the face.
If I had a penny,
tracks, but not only that, but a big touchy subject is AI now. Everybody's talking about AI. Love it or hate it. Do you guys get people coming up going, "Oh my God, you sound so great. You have to be using tracks." You might be using tracks. I don't know. But do you get a lot of that because it's out there, about Motley Crue using tracks? You know what I mean? Do they use tracks? Do they not use tracks? Who knows,
Yeah, well, any video that we have that sort of goes semi-viral, like we have one of us playing Looks That Kill live, it's had like, I don't know, it's had nearly 1 million watches or something by now, I can't remember. And just comment after comment saying, I wonder if Nicky is, using an iPod to play his bass. And so yeah, I get it all quite a lot. People come to the gig and say, "Oh, you sound so much better than them," and I say, well, no, because arguably we sound better than them now, but in the 80s they were untouchable, and we're trying to recreate that 10 years that they were incredible. So I say, thank you for the compliment, but it's, you can't, what we're trying to do, it's, they're in the 60s now, but when they were in the mid-20s, they were the best band on the planet for me. So, and that's what we tried to do, we recreate the same show and stuff like that. So it's, we do get it. And in terms, I'm happy to be completely transparent. So we have tracks, but they aren't tracks in a traditional way where there's a click track and a whole song is an audio file. We just have maybe 10 or 11 sound effects that go on. So like Wild Side at the end, the sirens, and Tom's playing the drums and he'll trigger it, and then these sirens go off. And then a song like Saints of Los Angeles, he reads a passage from the Bible, and again, intro track, and then it stops. So when we're actually into a song, it's just us. There's no backing vocals, there's nothing, that's just it.
You use it as a support for the sound effects, or like any of the other bands, even if they're using, and I'm all 4 tracks, me personally, because I'm a tech head, so I don't really care, because the people coming to see the band, they want to hear not just Motley Crue, it could be Oasis, it could be Pink Floyd or whatever. They want to hear what's authentic. A lot of these bands too, don't forget, use a full orchestra. You know what I mean? Behind them. And so, there's nothing wrong with it. I just think when, poor Motley Crue, they got so much shit for this past couple tours of, it's all tracks and this and that. Whether it is or not, I've seen them, recently, and I was like, it's a show, I'm getting a show. And that's what people are coming to see, you guys to get a show. So I understand what you're saying about that. Is your thought on technology in and of itself? Because we talked to some of the older bands and they use like the old realistic amps from back in the 60s, which always break, you know what I mean? They're constantly fixing them. I mean, you guys have to be using some newer tech, like even your guitar, the boxes, that you use for effects or whatever it might be. Technology now, you can replicate it in a box like this, and you don't need a giant amp and back you. I mean, what's your feeling on that? From being authentic, having stacks of amps, or, I mean, and believe me, Van Halen had stacks of amps, but you go behind the curtain and there's no speakers in them. It's just for a look,
Well, it's a show, isn't it? Like you say, it's a show.
It's all a show. So you guys, I'm sure, use some of the latest technology out there to duplicate the sounds like it was on the record. Yeah.
So going back a few years, we were using stacks, Marshall stacks and PV and Ampeg and things like that, and Mesa Boogie real amps and stuff. And then a couple of years ago, I decided to go fully digital, where I didn't want to be carrying around all this gear and stuff anymore. So I switched to using Line 6 HX Stomp, and I've dialed in like a tone using impulse response and stuff that it sounds just like nothing I've ever heard. It sounds outrageously good, and every time I use it, some of the best techs around do my sound check and they go, "Fucking hell, man!" Like, whoa, sounds. And that's great. And Pete as well, he's moved over to digital stuff now, and we were doing that for about 2 years and we had these like roller banners behind us. And then last year we thought, we just finished our 10-year anniversary, we need to do something new. And we thought, let's just go back and let's just go old school and get all the big old amps in. So now when we go out, we have 6 full Marshall stacks, and then I've got 4 Ampeg 8x10s, and we have this wall now. And the funny thing is, they're not even like, some of them are there for show, some of them are there just to monitor ourselves, but everything comes from these pedals at the front of the stage. But it's like, because it's to keep going up and up and creating a bigger and bigger show. It's it's cool having these little roller banners, but when you're playing a big 800 capacity venue, it just looks too empty. So it's like we've got the Tommy Lee drum kits, because we recreate all like 5 eras of Motley Crue. So when you come to see us, we could be doing our Theatre of Pain show, could be Dr. Feelgood, could be Too Fast for Love. So we have like the drum kits the same. The guitars, the bass, they're all authentic from that period. They're all original.
Oh, that's amazing.
The outfits. So people come to see us and they have no idea. It's like last week, guy said, I saw your Dr. Feelgood show 6 months ago, and tonight you're doing Girls, Girls, Girls. And it's amazing, and it's a completely different show. So everything is like, really, really fine-tuned to be as
I love that.
close.
When this is my own personal question because I'm a drummer. When does Tom get the roller coaster?
we get asked that a lot. I mean,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, maybe next year. I mean, I think I would absolutely love to do it. I mean, it's I don't know if they sell them on Temu though. That's the problem. It's
a lot of work. I seen a band out there that had not a Motley Crue band, but another band. And there's a guy back there cranking the thing to get it up and over. I was like, man, that's a lot of work. And if it gets stuck, you're effed. But, but it is cool, man. If you can, just different stuff to keep elevating the show. And with today's technology, who knows what you can get built and transported and all that good stuff. But even the pros out there on tour sometimes get stuck, You see a major star stuck in the air. Let me down,
Yeah.
So, but no, it's cool that you guys provide a different show for people traveling so far to see you, and they're getting something new, which is just, to me, I think that's like amazing. You're the wardrobe, the hair to make up the stage look. It's so important for what you guys do,
Huge.
You know what I mean? It's, the Motley Crue just changed over the years so many times,
Each album had a completely different set of branding, and it's great. It's because I can see any picture from Motley Crue and immediately know what year that it was from, which is great. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. What's I would say the hardest thing to embody from Motley Crue, would you say? Because music's hard, the look's hard, the stage performance, they're on 11 all the time, just moving around, so from your own personal standpoint, is there any one thing that comes to mind?
I'd say that musically, from a music perspective, it's the groove, because the songs, in all honesty, aren't hard to play. They're not difficult, but the characteristics of what make the songs, whether it's cymbal chokes at a very particular time and four on the floor and all these little things that when they're not there, you notice them, and it's getting those locked in, and it's if the songs are played a little bit too fast, you lose Motley Crue sound. So keeping it in the pocket, that is what makes Motley, because that's something that Vince said. He said we always wanted to make music that would make girls want to dance. Can't be too fast. It's got to have that swing. So that is probably the hardest bit. Is when you're playing a song and it's right in there. We sound just like them. So that's probably the hardest thing musically. But then the hardest thing overall is probably not so much for Pete, because he, like I said, he kind of is like Mick Mars.
Yeah.
No, he's lovely. You know what I mean? He's a lovely guy, but he is like Mick, so he doesn't have to try. But for the rest of us, it's Tommy he's like the second frontman, so he's huge character, and to get a drummer that can do that. It's one thing trying to do it,
so important,
but actually doing it and pulling it off is like a whole other thing. So
yeah, because listen, a lot of drummers in a lot of the major bands that are successful have the attitude that Tommy Lee has, you know what I mean? And he might as well, I think what did I just see? I saw a clip of him and Sammy Hagar from one of that interview they did.
Yeah.
And he's like, Sammy was like, you want to take my job? He goes, well, man, we worked on this forever. I wanted to be out front. I couldn't figure out how to do it. And then I figured out how to do it. And, it was just a cool way he described, how him being able to, through the years, just keep creeping up front to be in front of Vince, Well,
he said he saw Tommy Aldridge doing a drum solo, and people were going to go and buy a shirt. They were going to go and take a piss.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Freaked him out, didn't it? He thought, so I need to do something that's going to make people want to stay.
Right.
And that's kind of what it was. So
I love that.
I think it's
just so inventive. So let me ask you this: with such a massive catalog, how do you build that set list? Because you say you're the one that builds that set list. Massive catalog. Do you build it on? We did talk about that. You do different, records from the era and stuff like that. But I'm sure you do maybe like a greatest hits or something on a show or whatever it might be. But you got such a massive catalog to choose from. How do you pick it? And also, but writing that set list, you got to come up with a flow. That's a whole nother engineering type of thing, which is, we always talk about that. That's the basic 101. You gotta know how to do that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, your show's gonna fail.
That's it, and it's not enough for me anyway to just play a song, stop, start the next one, stop. So it's like the music between the music that I call it, and it's like, how do we link? What key's this in? How will it go into that, etc. And then everyone's just, including myself, we just study their live shows. So anything that Vince says, what does he say after smoking in the boys' room? How does he bring that in? Make a note of it, make a journal of it, right? So that's how that works. That's how they link. And a lot of what we do, well, pretty much everything we do, in all honesty, is what they did on their 80s tours. So we've watched, the Tacoma show and all these Motley gigs from the 80s that are bootlegs on YouTube, and basically we've all just collected the best moments of all of it and just put it in this one massive show. So the set list, we basically play every single single pretty much they've ever released, all the big hits, and then we do about 5 or 6 deep cuts that people usually go nuts for. Think songs like Without You and On With The Show, Piece of Your Action, Take Me to the Top and stuff. And it's but there's like 14 songs that we can't not play, like we have to play.
Yeah, it's a huge catalog, and like you said, you switch it up every now and then, but it's tough to do. Is there like one song that is that giant monster song, whether it's an encore or whether it's the last song or the opening song? There's, I'd love to hear, I know what it is for Motley. Of course, it's a lot of the same stuff, but
yeah.
How about for you guys? Does that switch up or?
Yeah, we've found now, like I said, with the Chancer, it's sort of quite quick. That line that I spoke of before that's become blurred of like the original band and tribute, what we've found now is like part of our live show, we have these animated videos that introduce the show, and it's this huge production thing that we had, that we have and use, and it just sets up the show. And the excitement it's really strange to describe unless you're there and experience it, but the excitement in the audience before we go out is just, I don't even experience it in original music. It's something so electrifying about it. So we open with Livewire, which is super fast song, and what I found is when that intro track finishes, the big video screen's got all these awesome animations of stuff, and we're flowing up, and then Mick walks out and Tommy walks out, and they just start screaming, and we hit into the first song, and all these strobes go off, and it's crazy. So yeah, Livewire is one of the big points in the show, because that's when everyone's like, the big reveal. It's like, I've seen these guys all over the YouTube, all over social media, and then he's 4 foot away from me, and to capture that moment is absolutely crucial. If you're coming out setting up your gear, and it just ruins it. You have to have that moment has to be there. So
oh, yeah. You're building the momentum for the show, and that surprise part of it. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. First of all, do you guys do meet and greets at all?
Yeah.
Like
So
get to talk to the fans?
Yeah, so every single show, obviously, we don't charge for it. It'd be ludicrous to charge for it. So after every show, we go out into the audience, and we will stay until every person that wants a photo and wants to meet us has done so. We have our T-shirts and stuff, and we will stay all night, even if it's hours and hours to drive home. That's what we do every show. When we have that show at the Underworld, we had a queue of maybe 130 people, and it took about an hour and 20 minutes, and people just stood there waiting. Photo, meet you, sign something, next person. Love it. Wouldn't change it for the world. It's incredible.
Listen, that's your fans. You got to do it. If I hear bands that don't do it, I always question why they don't. Maybe if they're super older, maybe they're worried about their health or whatever. I don't know. But to me, it's like, you got to get in front. These people travel so far to see you, and if they want to meet you, come on, you got to do that. So while you're doing that, how many times have you had fans that go, how come you didn't play that song?
Yeah, well, the one we keep getting, and it's doing my head in because we keep getting it this year, is because this tour we're doing is The Dirt. It's themed on the dirt, and the opening audio, the opening video is the same from the movie, so it's the song Red Hot. And at the end of the movie, during the credits, they play The Dirt at the end of the movie. So when we finish the last song, which is Kickstart My Heart, through the sound speakers, The Dirt plays, And the first thing everyone says is, "Oh, why didn't you play the dirt?" I'm like, "Well, it's on now. Like, it's the credits to the show. It's like a movie. Our live show is like the movie because we have a video that does all the rolling credits of, you know, all people that have contributed to the band, and people stand and watch it and what gear we use, and it's like at the end of a movie." And so I said, that's why we don't play the dirt. But we get that almost every gig now. They say, "Oh, I thought you'd play the dirt." I'm like, yeah, but we have to end it like the movie because
you have to explain it. Yeah,
and it's a bit weird. So yeah, we get that a lot.
How about like the scene right now in the UK? Because I from the people I talk to, you know, the people in the States and in the US here, you know, I'm always curious how your scene is different than what we do here. Is it based off of you playing a lot of theaters? Is it clubs, bars? You know, what capacity? You know, size rooms. You mentioned 450 in the one legendary theater.
Yeah.
You know, is that the average? Do you play festivals? Do you also do festivals?
Every type of venue that you can imagine, from arenas to a pub which will hold 50 people, and everything in between, tribute bands have infiltrated. So I've seen a Queen tribute at Nottingham Arena, sold out, and I've seen Kiss tribute play in a 40 capacity tiny little cafe. So, and it's everything in between. So we do festivals to thousands and thousands. I mean, have you ever heard of Bloodstock Festival?
Yeah.
Well, we're playing that this year.
Oh man, that's awesome.
So there's literally everything you can imagine, from really high-end theatres, tiny bars, everything you can dream of is tribute bands are in there.
That's going to be fun for you guys. Yeah. I did hear that it's just all over the place, you know. In the States here, it's the same, but more the bars and clubs are, you know, where you would say cover bands play versus tribute bands. Tribute bands are more taking over the theaters, you know, of a capacity of say 3 to 2,000 or 4,000. And then you have the big bands like I mentioned, the Australian Pink Floyd, or maybe Get the Lead Out, which is a big Led Zeppelin band from our area. They're playing Red Rocks and they're selling it out. You know,
wow.
It's nuts, you know. And these are places that even, you know, major national bands can't sell out in their career today. And these tribute bands are selling it out. So I think, you know, the scene is totally growing and just going to keep growing. We get a lot of newer bands starting out watching this show, and somebody that has your experience, you know, I'd love to give you the platform to say, hey, listen, these are my most important things when starting a tribute band that I think that you guys should do that has helped me in my career, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's a really easy answer, to be honest with you. It is, the way I want to put it is, if you want it to be successful, you have to find guys or girls that love it as much as what you do. Because if you've got anyone in the team that's a weakness, they turn into an anchor very quickly. If you've got 3 guys that are willing to invest, I mean, we've spent upwards of £30,000-40,000, you know, to make the show what it is. If you've got one guy that wants to just use the same beat up equipment he's been using for 9 years, he or she will be the anchor, and it will hold you back. So if you want to do it for fun, then it's great. No worries, however you want. But if you want it to be successful, you have to have people that are as invested as what you are, and with that, it is so much easier.
Oh, I 100% agree, because that anchor really, it does, it's what the word is. It just weighs you down and you're like, I can't move forward. The problem is, you know, a lot of bands, they don't know how to get rid of the anchor because maybe it's a lifelong friend or this or that. But I hate to go back to that word business, but it's a business at the end of the day. Yeah, you want to have fun. Trust me, playing music is fun in general. I don't care what anybody says. It's not, to me, I don't like to look at it as a job. You know, I'm talking about business from the standpoint to build a business, and to get those bigger jobs, you have to treat it like a business. And so I think you're 100% right. Make sure everybody in the band is on the same point as you, and that'll make things a lot easier. Or you get the one guy that shows up to the rehearsal, I didn't have time to learn it. You're like, what? You know,
it just I can't. I just have a zero tolerance to it. You know, it's like if someone, you know, you want to look the part, you know, and there's so many tribute bands that it's hard to say really. That it's not my place to necessarily have this opinion, but it's where the line of cover band and tribute band, where is that line? Because a lot of the time you'll have maybe one or two guys in a band which will resemble the people within the band, and then is that still a tribute band? You know, it's kind of like I always thought a tribute was everyone sort of looks as close as they can to the people that they're portraying, and basically, you know, it's impossible to look exactly like them, you know, but everything within your power is catered to try to make it look like the band, you know, and that's kind of like...
and then the flip side to that is, you know, which in addition to what you're saying, there's some bands that never even had a look, like Pink Floyd, you know.
Exactly.
They're about, it's the flip side for them. They're like, and when I interview one of the bands, you know, that are super successful now, they said, well, they're, you know, they moved from Australia to the UK. So they were playing small pubs starting out. And they would always go, oh my God, you guys sound just like the record. But, you know, and what is that but? Well, they figured out what the but is like they don't have a flying pig over them. They don't have the light show. They don't have the big giant screens. They needed to figure out how to get that done to elevate them to play these giant places. And it wasn't about their look because, you know, again, Pink Floyd, you know, the individual guys didn't have a look where you can't go out as Kiss and not have the makeup. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think every tribute band, but whatever you're doing, it should be authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're going to sound like Zeppelin, you better sound exactly like Zeppelin because that's what people are wanting to hear. Unless there's some newer bands breaking into the scene where they're doing some mashups of, you know, bands, which is creative and cool. But if you do it uniquely, it's kind of cool too, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the people that you're recruiting, it's, you know, I've done lots of session work in my career and stuff with music that I'm not particularly a fan of, you know, and I've done what I've needed to do to get through the tour or the show and stuff. But again, with it, if you want to put a successful tribute together, having people that are in love with the band and the person that they are being paid to portray, because I see Motley Crüe, 50% of what we do is like you're an actor, you know, because you've got... And I take it really personally because these people have paid their hard-earned cash. They've been working all week. You don't know what they're going through. Everyone's going through something, you know, and maybe they want to escape from something and they've got so many things to choose from, but they've chosen to spend their money to come and see your show. I take that really seriously, and everyone that works with me has to be invested in that theory as well, and you've got to give them the best thing that they deserve, which is the best show imaginable for what they come to see. So yeah, and if you've got guys that are in your team that believe that and they subscribe to that, then that it's it really is the key. It really is the key.
It is. It makes you successful, and everything you're saying, that's why you're successful. You know what I mean? So kids out there listening, that's what you need to do to be successful. So, you know, I know this is flying by. Well, I always say this, but we're going to need a part two if you give me your time for a part two down the line.
Absolutely.
But with that said, I have definitely a few more questions for you. So I need to know what your favorite Motley Crue song to play live. Oof. And do you have one? Because that catalog, again, is like crazy.
Yeah, my favorite song, and it's my favorite song ever written, is not a song that we play live by Motley Crue. Frustratingly, does that still answer your question? I'm not sure if it does because we don't play it live.
Let's make it a two-part question. One is, what is your favorite Motley Crue song? Because there are songs that are, say, that's a B cut or whatever, you know, and that's your favorite song. And what is that song? The
song "You're All I Need" from the Girls album. That's my favorite song ever.
It's a great song. I know that song.
It's just, it's just perfect, yeah.
And what about playing live? Now, playing live, it doesn't have to be just about you playing the bass or the bass parts. You know, it could be a song that, man, when I get that audience, the feedback from them, that's one of my favorite songs to perform. Is there a particular song in your set that's the one?
It's always been usually Girls, Girls, Girls or Kickstart, because that's when people absolutely lose their minds. It's towards the end of the night, everyone's drunk and it's brilliant. But this year, every time we play Piece of Your Action, when we go into that main motif, you know, with the big riff, everyone in the audience just starts jumping and the whole room shakes. I don't know why. And it just spontaneously happened. And we thought, what is going? This is so, and we started doing it, and it does that motif about 5 times during the song, so we get it 5 times. The whole room just jumps, and it's just, oh man,
that's
what a
amazing.
Feeling. It's very cool.
Has there been, and now Motley Crue is known for crazy stories or anything like that. Do you guys have any crazy stories from a gig that you might have played? You know, anything crazy? Did Tom throw his drums at the audience? Did the stage collapse? You know, did fans come up to you just thinking you were actually Motley Crue? You know, is there anything that sticks out to you?
Wow.
Or was there one show maybe that you were just like, this is an unbelievable show?
Yeah, we played. There's a show that we played,
and we did
talk
about the one legendary place you played, but maybe it could be like, you know, a giant show that you never expected to play for that many people.
Yeah, well, there's a show that we played called the Garage in Glasgow, and it's a big place, one of the biggest venues that we play, and we did it as part of a 3-band lineup, and we did really well. And then last year we said we're going to go out and do it on our own, and we actually sold more by ourselves, which was really weird, and it was rammed. And they have this thing in Scotland where, and I only found this out after the show, but they kept doing this chant, and I wasn't sure what they were saying, and they kept doing it throughout the show. I thought, what is that? You know, and then end of the show, this guy came up to me and he said, you guys are like in good company. And I was like, why? He said, the Scottish chant. I was like, what is that? And he said, when they chant, here we fucking go, they only do that for the best bands. Like, we hardly ever do it. And we had about 5 or 6 times throughout the show, and we were all stood there. You couldn't even hear yourself think. I mean, it was that loud. I was just like,
that loud. Holy crap.
And I didn't know what they were saying. I felt quite rude.
Right. Well, I was going to say, hey, number one, you're like, oh shit, are we in trouble after the show?
Yeah.
Or what?
Are they saying get off the stage? I don't know what they were saying, but
yeah, right.
But then yeah, when we did it, every time we've done it since then, we get the same thing. And it's just this thing apparently that if they really think you're good, you get the famous Scottish chant. And that was like, again, another moment of like, we're definitely doing something right. You know, I know not everyone likes Motley Crue, you know.
100%. No, I mean, yeah, I saw you guys online. As soon as I saw you, I was like, man, this is the real deal. And, you know, I wish you nothing but continued success. And I know you're going to just do bigger things, you know. So talking about Motley Crue in general, you know, how do you feel about some of the changes they made? Because, you know, getting rid of Mick Mars, like all this kind of, you know, talk online, or, you know, the deal. Do you have any, like, do you like the new lineup? I mean, obviously they're getting older. So you're, like you mentioned before, you're never going to get that 80s Motley Crue, you know, because they're just getting older, you know, and some of the, you know, things they have to do to keep going, like Mick Mars, you know, being replaced, you know, it's just part of the growing, you know, and moving forward. Yeah.
Well, he's just a hero, isn't he, Mick? And he's struggled with his condition for so many years, and many would have stopped way before now, you know. And for me, it's kind of like I said at the beginning of the interview, that they can't really do any wrong for me, because they've earned the right to do whatever the hell they want. And what people have to remember is that these guys have been doing this since they were in the teenage years, and they've not done anything else. This is what they've done consistently for 40, 50 years, on the road, making records, touring the world. That's what they've done. And to stop doing that, to do nothing or pursue something else, kind of like in sports, almost every sports person remains in the realm of sport in some capacity, don't they?
I so agree about what you're saying. It's funny. I was just telling somebody the other day, and, you know, I've been around the band Kiss forever. You know, at one point in my career, it was managed by the same person that managed Kiss and all this stuff. So I've just been around it. But it's funny. So I went to the last show they were going to do, you know.
Which one?
Yeah, the very last one.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, yeah, I just don't see at least Gene stopping, even though he's like, yeah, we're done. Wouldn't you know, they did that show, and then they go and they do a landlocked cruise thing in Vegas and perform there. And then next thing you know, Gene's on a solo tour. to me, those guys, like you said, have just been doing it so long. They don't know anything else. And if they stop, I don't know them personally, but I don't think they're going to be happy. Same with Crüe. You know what I mean? I think those guys have been on the road for so long, making records. They love it. They love it. You know, obviously they don't need the money. They love being in front of the audience. And I get it, you know?
That's all they've ever done, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think, what you said, with McMars, unfortunately the health thing, but the new lineup, they're moving on and they're just going to keep rocking, you know what I mean?
I would rather see them as they are now than never see them again.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. Where do you think Motley Crüe will be? Any plans for like a next 5 years for you guys? What do you want to do?
If Pete's back holds out, I think we should be all right. Again, the bullying thing, he loves it. So
you can always call up Mick maybe and just see if he wants to come back.
I know, yeah. I mean, a very quick funny story. We played a sold out show in London a few weeks ago, and Pete, he got a beer from the bar, and he was walking down the stairs, and he tripped over this like velvet rope, and he actually broke his foot. Like at the gig.
My God.
And we were due to be on stage in about 40 minutes, and he was lying down backstage. His foot blew up, and he'd gone white. He was in absolute agony. We thought we had guys flew over from Greece for the show to watch us, all around the country, like I explained before. People come from all over, and I thought, if we need to cancel it, we've got to do it because it's his health, But the guy got up, and he's like, on with the goddamn show. And he did the show not knowing he had a broken foot, played for 2 hours, 3.5, 4 hour drive home. The next day, hospital, you've broke your foot. And just animal, mate. So he's just like... So yeah, I mean, if everyone wants to carry on doing it, which I think everyone is in it for the absolute... I mean, for me, I've been doing it from the beginning, so I'm in it for the long haul. But these other guys, I mean, Pete's been doing it for like 9 years or 8 years. But the other guys that are quite new to it, I think they're in it for the long haul. So for me, I spoke with a guy who works with Def Leppard and Whitesnake and McFly, loads of big artists, and he was saying he was involved with me working on some projects with Motley Crude in terms of visual stuff and collaborating on some creativity stuff like that. And he was saying, very complimentary things, but he was honing in on, he believes that Motley Crude has got the potential to follow in the steps of these huge, like you said, that he mentioned the Australian Pink Floyd show, and that's where I want us to get to. I want us to be a band that tours internationally every year, does huge theatres and places in America. I've had a bunch of offers from America already for next year for big theatres. So
I love that. Yeah, I can see you guys doing some of these. For tribute bands, another big thing are these cruise ships, where they do that, and I can see you guys doing one of those, easily. Those are really, really big. The tribute band scene, and I'll leave you with this question, where do you see that continuing, growing?
I think because the market, because music has changed so much, there isn't really any original bands that are incredible, that are like just taking over everything like it used to be. It's just that magic isn't there anymore. So tribute bands are just outselling original bands over and over here in the UK, and I think it's just unless something changes where people start giving original bands a real chance to take over from the bands they love, it's always going to be like this. I mean, in England, 6 nights a week are tribute bands, 1 night is an original band in massive big theatres and big venues. So it's just, original scene does really well, but I think it will continue now because I just don't think the industry is the same as what it was now. I think, especially because I'm only talking about the rock community, I don't
I mean, rock, pop, it's just so difficult to break out amongst... Everybody can put a video out now, So how do you break through I'm talking about original artists. How do you break through? On the flip side, with the tribute band scene, in my opinion, only, is that some of the bands are not touring anymore. Some of the bands, you can't afford a ticket to the show. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking just rock. I'm talking pop, rock, whatever.
Yeah.
It's in the States here too, So when you have a tribute band that's doing what you guys do, or over in the States here doing what they do, you're going to be able to do those tours and sell out and play those big places, because there's an audience for it. And I think that'll always be the case. And I do see the scene growing. Over here, I see a little more of like some of the bands trying to figure out, how do I break out from the 100 Journey bands out there? There are some bands that have way more tribute bands than other bands, you know what I mean? And, I've seen a lot of Journey. I just say that, but how do I break out from the Journey? So they might go, all right, we're going to do a Journey, Foreigner, and something else, tribute.
Loads of them.
We'll do a mashup.
There's even There's even ones over here doing those two bands paired up. I mean, it's like, I think it's like a thing, yeah.
Yeah, you got to reinvent this scene a little bit. Well, Shawn, I think we said it all until part 2. This has been amazing.
Yeah.
Shawn from Motley Crude. Everybody, you have to go click on the description below. Go check his band out. If they're around in your hometown, you got to go see them, because I'm going to go see them when you come over here. LA is a little far from me, but when we're going to get you touring from where I'm going to make sure I hook you guys up to tour in my neighborhood.
Yeah. If you know anyone, then put me in touch and I'll make it happen.
Dude, I will totally be on that. I appreciate your time. But this has been great. One more thing. Where can everybody find you? Your band?
We are everywhere. So we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, Instagram, everything's all Motley Crude, Crude. You can find us everywhere on social media, and we have a link tree with all our tour dates, promo videos, everything's on there. And that's just linktree/Motley Crude, and everything that we do every year is all listed on there that you can find. Tickets, merch, everything.
And we'll put it all in the description so people can find it easy.
Yep.
And Shawn, it's been great. Thanks for your time. Hang tight, and we're going to do a part 2.
Awesome. Great to meet you, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Tribute Band Sessions podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment. Want more info? Sign up to our mailing list at tributebandsessions.com. It's the best way to stay in the loop on upcoming episodes, special guests, and behind-the-scenes stories, and all things tribute bands. And don't forget to follow us on all our socials at Tribute Band Sessions. Thanks for watching.